easiest problem on there. First of all, I see people multiplying this out. Yikes. If we're finding the zeros, aren't we solving it? We're solving the equation. How do we solve? Well, there's many ways we've learned, but one of them is by factoring. Now, if you multiply this out, you're going to get this huge thing. You're going to have to know how to factor it, and you're not going to know how to factor it. But if you did factor it, you'd end up back here. So why multiply it out? Aren't these all linear factors? Isn't that a linear factor? Why linear? Because linear means degree 1. Does everybody understand how x is degree 1? That is a linear factor. X minus 1, is that degree 1? Yes. Isn't x to the first power? That's a linear factor. And then isn't x plus 3 a linear factor? So we have a bunch of linear factors being multiplied. To find the zeros, we have to set our linear factors equal to 0 and solve. So we have x is equal to 0. We have x minus 1 squared, which technically just means x minus 1 times x minus 1. We could set each of those equal to 0. And then we have x plus 3 twice. 3 times, set equal to 0. If we had to do it, out this far, we could. So we get x is equal to 0. There's one of our answers. We get x is equal to, we add 1, add 1, add 1. We get x is equal to 1, x is equal to 1. There's 2 answers, 2 more answers. And we get negative 3. X is equal to negative 3. X is equal to negative 3, right? So you would write it like this. In secondary math 3, you would say x is equal to 0. X is equal to 1 with a multiplicity of 2 because it happened twice. So with a multiplicity of 2, and then x is equal to negative 3 with a multiplicity of 3. Because that happened 3 times. I don't know what I have to do. We've gone over this like so many times, I don't know how to make it more clear. Do we have questions on this? We don't have any. Okay. So we're going to get it right next time. Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's get to what we're doing today, 5-9. We've already learned how to do it. It's a review day because it's such an important part. We can't forget anything we learned on day 1 to day now. We have to know clear till the end of the term. So today's a good day to review how to find the inverse of a function algebraically. There's many different ways of finding an inverse. We're going to find it algebraically. So our first step, switch x and y. You guys should already know this. Second step, solve for y piece by piece, algebraically, correctly in the correct order. The algebra part's the hardest part. You guys have gotten so much better at algebra, so really you're pretty good at this. And then third, write it as f inverse of x. That negative 1 up there means f inverse of x. So you just write the answer instead of y is equal to, you write it as f inverse of x. Is everybody comfortable with how to do this? Let's just practice a few up here. You don't even need to take notes. Just watch, walk me through this. Then I'll let you work. Okay, so find the inverse of f of x is equal to negative 5 over x minus 2 plus 3. Our first step is to switch x and y. Well, f of x means y, so I'm going to first go y equals negative 5 over x minus 2 plus 3. First step, switch x and y. X is equal to negative 5 over x minus 2, y minus 2, we're switching x and y, plus 3. Okay, so now we're just algebraically solving for y, piece by piece. What's my first step to get y along? Subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. So on the left, I have x minus 3 is equal to negative 5 over y minus 2. There's like 12 million different ways we can go about solving this. So, it just depends on who you are, what you're going to do. As long as you do your algebra correctly. To get y along, does anybody have any brilliant ideas? Okay, I'm going to rewrite this because you guys need to be able to see this. Okay, I know you're at this level where you should be able to see this. So technically, isn't this... So if you look at it like this, it should help. On the left, we obviously have x minus 3. On the right, isn't this the same thing as negative 5 times by 1 over y minus 2? Isn't that the same thing as that? Yes. Okay. So negative 5 is being multiplied to 1 over y minus 2. What undoes multiplication? Division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. Or we could also say let's multiply by negative 1/5. Same thing as dividing by negative 5. So on the left, we obviously still have x minus 3 divided by negative 5. On the right, we have, doesn't negative 5 divided by 5 become a 1? So it's gone. Does everybody see how I took care of that? Okay. So we have 1 over y minus 2. Now notice a couple things. We have a fraction on the left, a fraction on the right. Nothing added on the outside of the fractions, right? So, cool fact for you. You can actually take, so there's other ways of doing this, obviously, but what we can do is, don't we want y on top? So if we flip this side of the fraction, as long as we flip this side, it's okay. As long as we do the exact same thing to both sides of the equation, we're okay. So I'm going to flip this side. So I'm going to have negative 5 over x minus 3. I'm going to flip this side. So I have y minus 2 over 1. Does everybody see how I flipped both sides? Okay, so then from there, y minus 2 divided by 1, isn't that just y minus 2? So I have negative 5 over x minus 3 is equal to y minus 2. Then from there, to get y alone, what will I do? Add 2 to both sides. We can't add 2 to a fraction, so you'll have negative 5 over x minus 3 plus 2 is equal to y. And now y is alone. We're done. That's our answer. That's our inverse. But I'm going to have you write it correctly. F inverse of x is equal to negative 5 over x minus 3 plus 2. There's our answer. Okay, so it does take some algebra skills, but I think we're there, hopefully. Questions on that? Okay, a couple more, then I'm going to let you work. So, find the inverse. F of x is equal to negative 7x plus 3 all over negative 2. We have y is equal to negative 7x plus 3 over negative 2. So, switch x and y. X is equal to negative 7y plus 3 divided by negative 2. First step to get x and y alone. Multiply both sides by what? Good. I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2. So on the left, negative 2 times x is negative 2x. On the right, look, negative 2 divided by negative 2. It's a 1, right? Questions on that? So we have minus 7y plus 3. Then solve for y algebraically. Subtract 3, negative 2x minus 3 is equal to negative 7y. Divide by negative 7. So we have negative 2x minus 3 over negative 7 is equal to y. Now I'm going to urge you, y is alone, that's technically our answer, but isn't this a line? Isn't this a line? Yes. So I'm going to urge you to go a little bit more advanced style and write it how it would be written as a line. So we know f inverse of x is equal to, so we know it's mx plus b, right? What's negative 2x divided by negative 7? Isn't that positive 2/7 x? And then what's negative 3 divided by negative 7? Positive 3/7. This is the more advanced way of writing it, because you're writing it in the prettiest form. Does that make sense, everybody? It really could be written either way, though, on the end of level text. But this would be, they would probably say and write it in slope-intercept form. No, what's it called? Y equals mx plus b form. They wouldn't say that. It's called something. I'm just mind blank on it right now. Okay. Do you see how I did that, everybody? Okay. Last one, and then I'll let you work. So we have y is equal to negative 3 times by the 4th root of x minus 2 plus 4. First step, switch x and y. X is equal to negative 3 times by the 4th root of x minus 2 plus 4. What? Y. Thanks. So now we'll solve for y algebraically. These seem to be the hardest ones. Can't quite figure out why. But so what's our first step? Subtract 4 from both sides. Very good. So we have x minus 4 is equal to negative 3 times by the 4th root of y minus 2. Now here's where most people just royally mess up. Good. You have to isolate the radical first. So we're going to divide both sides by, good, negative 3. So we have x minus 4 divided by negative 3 is equal to the 4th root of y minus 2. How do you undo the 4th root? Raise it to the 4th power. Good. So we have, come on. Struggling a smidge. Okay, so let's just write it like this. So we have x minus 4 over negative 3 raised to the fourth, and that's equal to y minus 2, because our root cancels out with our power. Then our last step will be to add 2. You don't add 2 underneath here, then you'd be raising it to the fourth power. It wasn't raised to the fourth power. So we have x minus 4 divided by negative 3 raised to the fourth power plus 2, and that's equal to y. Now y by itself, there's our inverse. That answer would be acceptable in my book. They might split it up and put a fourth power on top and negative 3 to the fourth on bottom. Does that make sense? And then actually calculate it. I'm okay with that answer. So f inverse of x is x minus 4 over negative 3 to the fourth plus 2. Question 1, how to do this? Okay, so it's just algebra. How do we find the inverse of this? We have xy points. Switch xy. Switch xy. You're absolutely right. You just simply switch x and y. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Sweet. Do the whole worksheet. Ready, set, go. Now understand something. That back page is so important. Those are exact problems that we're seeing on the end level test. So I need you to take the back page very seriously. I want you to check all your answers with me. You've got to get these right, people. Go, go.